And introducing Daphne Shu, she's the project manager. So I'll turn it over to you, Daphne, if you're ready to go.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. There's bad traffic. So let me just pull up the...
We did introductions, Daphne, just so you know. Everyone's already old friends.
Great. But yeah, I mean, I guess, my plan was just to talk about it. I do have like a spreadsheet that I believe I sent out to everyone to see, if they wanted to use it to rank the proposals. And so we can like fill that out together, or if you guys have already done all of that, we can just put them all in to see, how the proposals ranked and all of that.
I guess a good place to start is, did you all have time to look at the proposals yet? I know from staffing a lot of committees, sometimes you don't have time to look at it. That's probably a good place to start.
I definitely made time. It seemed to me these were some very top-notch consulting companies.
I had an opportunity to review the proposals, and I agree with Katie. I thought we got a good response.
I didn't see the packet, so I did not read any of this yet, so excuse me. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, no worries. I guess what we can do is let me pull up the packet, and then we can just, start from the beginning, and maybe like the people who have read through the proposals can talk about what they liked about each proposal. And then, you can see, as we go through, and then at the end we can, kind of discuss overall what we thought of them. Let me just pull up the proposals really quick. Here we go. So the first one that we had was MSA. Does anyone have, anything that they thought about right off the bat with MSA?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
My first thought was that I liked the layout of this presentation. And I just went through each one and used a highlighter anytime I saw something really kind of interesting, positive, unique for their ideas. And I just highlighted, and then I just wrote out a list of all the highlights for each company. And then I kind of added up who had the most positive things. I love the idea for MSA having the confab booth at the Good Neighbor Fest. I thought that was a really smart way to reach residents and get their feedback.
Yeah, Katie, that was something that stuck out to me too. I believe MSA and then SRF was the other one that mentioned having something at the Good Neighbor Fest, which was like a place where Middleton residents, already flock to just get their ideas, which I liked.
I generally liked MSA's project approach. It seemed very straightforward and understandable. I also thought that they had maybe one of the strongest relevant experience. If I looked at kind of what projects they had presented as relevant experience, I thought they had a good selection, good number of projects and kind of the same types of projects. So I thought that looked good.
One thing I thought with MSA is they did have the experience, but not necessarily while they were all working with MSA, and that they are partnering with the office, that it's just another layer of complexity of making sure that the communication flows through both of those companies.
I liked that they were specific in mentioning that they wanted to create outreach to non-English speaking residents. I thought that was thoughtful on their part.
Mhm.
And I thought their shared parking idea was very interesting, where businesses could share, a couple businesses could share one parking lot.
I thought one, and this was comparing it to the others, they did not seem to have much in the way of focus on pedestrians.
Mhm.
Now, this was the first one I read, so I'm out of the ones, out of the four, so I didn't go back and take a look afterwards to see if maybe they did make more reference to it. But I didn't see a lot of reference to the pedestrians in their planning.
Yeah, that's good to know.
I thought, they, like you said, Jim, about pedestrians, but I thought that they may have addressed non-English speaking, but I thought there's a lot of other unrepresented citizens that didn't have any mention exactly how they were going to perform the outreach to the lower income or the different disability or abilities of people. I would have liked to see more on that.
Daphne, if I can make a suggestion, would it be helpful to look at the RFP first and maybe quickly review it, since Jeff hasn't reviewed the packet? Maybe that would be helpful, just to quickly take a break here and look at that, and just to remind people what we were prioritizing, emphasizing. Sorry to interrupt the flow. I just thought that might be useful.
No worries. Yeah, so can everyone see the RFP that we sent out? So yeah, basically, this is the corridor. It goes from Parmenter all the way down to Allen. Obviously, this part of university is like really residential. I mean, it's like basically all residential, and then starting from around here is when it goes into more like commercial areas. And so these are all just, the first parcel off of University Avenue. That's what we're looking to have the plan for. And then, the scope of work, it involves a lot. There was that other plan that wasn't passed by council in 2009 that went kind of in depth into University Avenue. But as we've all seen, throughout the pandemic, a lot of the land uses are changing. Offices aren't, that in vogue anymore, so we're really looking at to see, what the future land use could be for this corridor. And then obviously housing is really important, and public transit. Those are two focuses that we're really looking towards to have a guide for along this corridor. And then we can just skip down to here. So this is what we asked for them to submit, like a team, their project experience, and the first one above was, their understanding of the University Avenue corridor. And I think, after looking through the four firms that, the 4 firms have a really good, understanding of what University Avenue is like. And then finally, we have a selection criteria. So, it's based out of a total of 100 points. And so that was the Excel sheet that I had sent out that, you could kind of rate it on your own. But we're looking at understanding of the issue, relevant experience, design approach, equity. We would really like to see, them focusing on equitable, ideas and practices, and then clarity, the schedule, and then finally the fee proposal.
Where do they get their information on understanding the issues? I mean, I'm on the Avenue all day long, every day, day in and day out. I've never seen any of these people there, and they've never stopped in to talk to any of us. How do they get their information?
Yeah, well, a lot of them, it sounded like, at least from like their beginning letters, they know a person who's like lived in Middleton. One of their employees lives in Middleton and, takes the corridor to work every day.
Okay.
It's like that. And then some of them have taken the time to walk. I don't know if they've made it, through the whole corridor, but it looks like some of them, they've taken pictures that look recent of, buildings. So they've had just a brief chance to walk it. Obviously they'll do a more detailed, in-depth, look around once we've selected a firm.
Jeff, you bring up a good point. I think some of the firms had been pretty specific about making sure that they engaged stakeholders within the corridor in their interview process and their fact-finding investigation. And I think MSA had talked about maybe up to 10 different interviews, either individual or group interviews with stakeholders, which I thought was good. So hopefully they reach out to businesses like yours.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to know what's going on, you almost has to, deal with it on a daily basis. And a lot of us have done that here. This not like a lot of town. This is a driving destination. This is not a walking destination for all of these businesses. And most of these businesses are retail type of stores. Parking has always been a big problem for all of us. Sharing a parking lot, I mean, if there was a way to do that, that is a great idea. But maybe taking down the homes behind us is a better idea. So I don't know, there is a lot to be done on this street. It's a really great street. It's a very vibrant street. It has too many storefronts right now that are empty. But you do see change going on, which is really good. That apartment across at the Sport Bowl, I'm so happy that's not just going to sit like a dead mute for a long time. I mean, it's up and going. Not the prettiest thing I ever saw, but it's a lot better than a skeleton sticking out of the ground. So it's exciting what I do see. And I'm so sorry I didn't read the packet. I didn't really see it. I don't know if it went to my spam or what happened, but I am very, very sorry that I'm not up to date on all this.
I think one thing, Jeff, you'll be heartened to know is that these firms aren't coming to any conclusions in these plans, in these presentations today. They are simply making their pitch to let us choose them to then come in and really do a study. So it isn't as if you were skipped over by 4 different consulting firms for interviews. So I do think that once one of these firms is chosen, you'll probably be inundated with questions from them.
I appreciated that SRF has an office in Middleton. So That was one of the reasons they were my number one choice.
That is a big plus, absolutely.
Hmm.
Keep your neighborhood vibrant.
Yeah.
So we can look over the SRF proposal next then, in that case.
Adrian,
was
they're my number one too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they're just so detailed and thorough in their descriptions and just so familiar with this space. Probably because they have an office here.
Makes a difference, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, plus it's still a large company, and they've worked on some big projects as a company, and having the office here, they definitely nailed the overview and the understanding of the project. I mean, that just was on point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I learned a lot reading their proposal.
Yeah, SRF was certainly my number one. I thought they provided a lot of data, and the fact that a number of local people actually work for them, and not that any one of these wouldn't want to do the project properly. It seems that these people would have more of a vested interest.
Yeah. And understanding.
And understanding, yes.
I thought they were the firm that did the most brainstorming already. In the presentation. They already had some cool ideas for us and offered them. And so my list of pluses is way longer for SRF.
Mhm.
Well, they certainly were, they certainly have quite a bit of local experience and are vested in the community. I mean, that's, and I agree that they had the strongest proposal in terms of just kind of outlining what they thought the issues were. And they did more work up front than I think the other firms did. I wasn't maybe as impressed with their relevant experience as MSAs, but it's I'm not sure if I looked at it the same way as others did.
Hey, Daphne, are you running the
Yes.
pages? Could you go back 2 pages?
Yeah. This one?
One more there. Under that, let's see, I'm gonna try and find it. What page is that? Can you tell? Okay, got it. There was a thing that said, consider removing and paving 1 to 2 feet of terrace areas, or exploring other buffer treatments to make users feel more separated from vehicle traffic. Are they meaning removing 1 to 2 feet of the road and turning it into terrace area to widen the buffer? It confused me.
Yeah, I don't think they would be, taking away any lanes. But I believe what they're saying is, basically they want to increase this little, whatever foot of grass, and they want to make it, a bigger buffer. So, when you're walking like this man in this picture, you're not walking right next to a giant truck. I believe that's what they're talking about. So
making the
this
sidewalks more narrow?
I'm not too sure how they would do it exactly, but
Okay.
I do know that there is a little bit extra space in the public right of way. So the public right of way might end, back here where my mouse is.
Right.
So they
In their
could,
parking lot.
shift. Right. There might be some way to shift around, but yeah, they would have to see when they do the project.
Okay.
Yeah, Katie, I was confused by that as well. And then I finally kind of came to the conclusion that what they were talking about is like where the terrace areas were narrow, 1 or 2 foot in width, that they would pave those instead of have grass at all. It'd just be paved. I don't know if that's what they meant, but that's kind of what I finally came to the conclusion of.
My sustainability brain goes, bad idea.
Yeah, I was, there was some, that suggestion stuck with me as well, and some not quite fair because I don't really understand what they're trying to communicate there. But
Yeah.
I myself wouldn't want to see grass removed and for more pavement. But we do need there, certainly the narrow terraces are a bit of an issue in
Yeah, they
terms of
are.
the corridor.
Remember in the wintertime that's all snow from the road
Mhm.
right there too.
Yeah,
So the grass really doesn't get a chance because it's all salt.
yeah.
So those are weed beds, really. They're not grass beds, just so you
Yeah.
know. And the snow gets piled so high that people pulling in and out of the parking lots can't see the oncoming traffic.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
it gets scary. So you don't want to eliminate where to put the snow. The only other choice that you would have is to remove it, and that's pretty expensive. So, but that's where we have snow half the year too, is what I'm saying.
Or make it wider.
By going
And
into their parking lot, that's your choice. And they don't have enough parking lot as it is. So there really is a limit of space,
Mhm.
and taking it away from anywhere doesn't work well.
Yeah, well, we'll put that onus on them to figure it out.
Okay.
I loved their idea that the high school should lease parking spots from St. Bernard's as a way to solve the parking issue over by the school.
That
Yeah,
is
using
smart.
existing parking instead of making more.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart.
And that they, I'm skipping around, but they really wanted to focus on underserved populations, and they wanted to engage residents who are living below poverty status. And they mentioned being culturally aware and equity-based. I thought all those were really nice points. Did Abby have to go? Are you here still, Abby? She had to go to workforce housing, didn't she?
She did.
Yes, Abby
Yeah,
is left
that's
for
right.
another meeting.
Yeah, okay. One of the, I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize, but the history of the triangle at Branch and University was something they mentioned on SRF's proposal, and I love that. It was the site of the first African-American restaurant here in town. But there's that M with all of the organizations on it. And I know that the organizations are very proud of having that large M there at the entrance to the city. I'm wondering aloud if that could be moved to the roundabout at Donna Drive or Parmenter. And then the triangle could become a really important piece of property, perhaps with a different art installation, perhaps with some prominent looking something. Because as important as the M is, it is a little tired looking.
Mhm. So why do you want to do that to the roundabout, Katie?
Because the arts committee has, I know.
If they can find a better way to display them, I think.
I think that the folks who are on that, they're very,
Yeah,
according to Abby, they're just super tied to it.
right.
And we as the arts committee have had a horrible time trying to figure out what to do in the roundabout.
Mhm.
So that's just my,
But we digress.
but we
One thing-
digress.
Yes, one thing I liked about their proposal is they have experience with the Rochester Bus Rapid Transit. And since we want to bring that kind of component to Middleton, I think that's important. And also I like the work that they've done with Safe Routes to School in St. Paul. I really think that's important. Something we really want to key in on.
I will get back and digress a little bit, but then I'll let this go about the big M. I was involved with the, shouldn't say with the building, but I was involved with the Eagle Scout who had that as their project.
Oh, that's really cute.
And they worked with the Chamber of Commerce to help get the funding, and there was a lot of private funding for that M. And that goes back into, I'm gonna guess about 1986, 87. So I would fight moving it. So I'll leave it at that.
From what I hear people saying, it sounds like many of the members are pretty excited about SRF's proposal, and I was as well. The only thing I would ask maybe Daphne to do is let's just compare their project experience with MSAs, for instance, and that's the only thing that I had any concern at all about for SRF.
Would you like to do that right now? I think I see.
Yeah, if you could, yeah, that's doable.
Let me pull up MSAs. And let me see if I can the screen. Can you guys see both of them right now or just one?
Just one.
Okay.
There, I see them both.
Okay. Yeah, MSAs are on different pages, but it looks like SRFs are all on one. So they have one in Fitchburg, MSA does.
I thought that the Fitchburg and the Cross Plains, when we're looking at things that aren't autocentric, I thought that a lot of these two plans were, I didn't think that they were looking at, and that's the nature of it, I guess. But the two plans they submitted didn't really eliminate, work on the elimination of automobiles. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, that's funny because I thought the Cross Plains, that's basically University Avenue extended running through Cross Plains.
Mhm.
It's kind of a similar, in some ways it's quite similar.
Yes. What I didn't get from Cross Plains is that Middleton, we're trying to get people to stop and interact on University Avenue. And I didn't get that through this proposal, other than they moved some parking. And it's a smaller project too, so. You're right, though, when you put them next to each other.
I'm thinking maybe more in terms of maybe from a plan commission perspective and the land uses. To me, it's this plan is going to be both about transportation issues and parking issues, but it's also going to be about land use and building form and heights and those kinds of things. So it's going to be an interesting process for sure.
when they give the budget on this project, is that that they actually did the project and not the proposal? Because this one is so hot, you know, it's 800 and I can't read it right now, but 800 and
Which one? The cross
the
800
MS
for MSA.
90,000.
MSA.
650,000 cross plan.
Yeah, okay, 650.
Yeah.
So this is the whole project. Cross Plains looks nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Wasn't it interesting that we got those 4 proposals and the fees for each one of them was, I mean, they're all within $1,000 of each other. It's quite impressive, actually.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wondered if it was because somebody gave them a budget and because they all landed at the exact same spot.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how that
Is that
happened.
part of the RFP?
So they did, a lot of them, the firms got back and asked, and so we did tell them the budget, that is the budget
I
essentially.
see. Okay.
Yeah, so they
Okay.
got, you know, like right up to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So fee, they all got 10 from me.
Daphne and Mark, what did you guys think about the proposals? Did you have any feeling one way or another about the proposals? Did you rank them by chance?
Go ahead, Daphne.
Yeah, sure. So I did, and I actually ranked MSA on top. I liked the SRF one as well. It looked like they'd done a lot of the, you know, like the work already, the research into it. But yeah, I liked how their relevant experience was, you know, similar to what we were looking at. And then I liked that they had brought in that extra that other firm to do that, you know, more of the communication work. So I don't know, for me that showed that, you know, they put an extra emphasis on that, which was nice. But yeah.
I just reviewed it. I did a cursory review yesterday. I'm mainly here to take notes and provide support.
You don't get to have an opinion?
Well, I so seldom have opinions, Katie.
Sorry about that.
No, I mean, the things you've called out with the SRF proposal are things that I noticed. A couple of them I hadn't noticed, but I also noticed the Good Neighbor Fest connection, which since I happen to be president this year, I obviously that stood out to me. But no, I think any of these firms is qualified, you know, has the ability. It's just a matter of how you think the vision translates to what our goals are for the project. And the local experience angle from SRF is strong. SEH also has a couple of people who are well connected locally here. So, I mean, that's not the only criteria, obviously. But definitely there's been efforts. SRF made a strong effort to share their vision and do some groundwork that was, I think, above some of the others.
Did anyone rank the other two, AIRS and is it SEH? Did any of those two make it on the top of anybody's list?
No.
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 So
I like
we don't
that.
even really need to bother, right?
I liked SEH, but I liked just barely SRF better, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing about MSA, and I took them down a little bit in clarity, is when they asked what's expected of the city staff, they didn't mention, you know, that the city staff would have to be providing them with data and the GIS mapping, and also working with the social media portion of the project to make sure everybody's engaged with it. They didn't mention those things, but I'm guessing that will be part of it. So it just kind of, I think those are important things that the staff are stretched pretty thin, and we need to make sure that these companies appreciate all the things that go into doing the project.
That's a great point. You said SRF did not?
No, MSA.
MSA did not.
I didn't see it.
Okay. I think it was SEH, said that they would make a project website.
Mhm. There
And I
were,
really liked that. And if somebody else had to do it instead of city staff, I feel like that's a good idea. We could, of course, take some of the ideas from these other proposals and ask whoever we end up with to please do that, if that's possible.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I think it's really, if the purpose of today's discussion is really to try to make progress on a selection of one of these proposals, I think to me, it seems pretty clear that we're maybe trying to balance MSA against SEH. And to me,
SEH or SRF.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, SRF. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, SCH.
Can you say
Oh.
your sentence again, Randy? I'm
Yeah.
confused.
Oh, I am too.
I'm sorry. I said, I think we're really trying to balance between, and I'm getting my acronyms mixed up, between is it SRF that we're looking at right now?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, SRF and MSA. That's how I think that's what we're getting to.
Mhm.
And the other ones we could maybe set aside.
Yeah. Does anyone want to say anything about SEH and heirs before we, hone in on
Well,
these two?
I will. I'll say SEH, I like their emphasis on sustainability. I really think they did a good job with that.
Mhm.
And let's see.
I didn't write down which one, but one concerned me when they were talking about availability of staff. And they said so-and-so would be 30% until July and then 80%. That sort of concerns me as far as the commitment, because what if they aren't available 80% as of July? And in a couple of cases, they were talking that the person wouldn't be fully available or whatever their maximum was until September or October. I
That
don't
was
remember-
heirs. That was heirs.
That was theirs, and that concerned me.
Mhm.
I will
Um,
say, I looked up
oh.
reviews on the companies, and SEH had only 3 stars for as far as the employees ranking it, and a lot of bad things to say about it from internally. I couldn't find any reviews like from people who actually used them, but that is what popped up.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that matters.
I gave them a plus because they're employee owned, but maybe that causes more problems than it's worth.
Maybe. Yeah, I just noted that. I was like, oh, wow, 3 stars. Okay. And that was based on 59 votes or 59, reviews.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, so let's hone in on these two then, MSA and SRF.
I thought there was a big difference in how I marked the schedule between the MSA and SRF. I thought that the SRF, they had it was much more granular. You could see exactly where they were going with that. And the schedule for MSA, I thought was very broad. And I like the fact that SRF took time to actually zone in on more of the details that needed to be done.
Mhm, mhm. It is, I agree, that I do like that as well.
And they get done a month earlier. Hey,
Yeah,
looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because everything
the-
always goes according to plan.
who's going to be working, who's actually going to be doing the planning work for SRF, and who would be doing it for MSA?
Like the staff that they have on.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, let me pull that up. So it looks like it would be, Steve Tremlett for MSA. Todd is the consultant that they've added on. Jason Valerius, and then Sarah Morrison for GIS. And then for SRF, it's Paul Shelleval, Derek Hungness, and then Stephanie Falkers and Adele Paul. Oh, and then they do have a couple more people here as well.
Did MSA address the current workload of their individuals? I didn't see it, what their current workload
Yeah, I
was.
didn't see that either.
They're proposing not to start work until July, either where SFA is, or SRF is June. Which to me might suggest that their workload is heavy right now.
So starting later and getting done earlier, less planning time, I guess. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's good or bad.
You're right.
No, starting earlier and finishing earlier. Is that how we understand?
Well,
it? Yeah, and
SRF is,
SRF,
but
yeah.
MSA is starting later.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said SR.
No, sorry if I said it wrong. Yeah, I don't see anywhere that the staff load is listed in MSA.
As far as MSA, did anybody, they're bringing in a separate consulting firm for the planning, and it's a one-person operation. Did they say they've worked with this individual before, several projects? Because that concerns me a little bit, because besides us dealing with MSA is then dealing with this other firm. And what happens if the one doesn't perform or the sole operation fails? I see the plus of it because you're getting more input, but that does present a little bit of a concern to me.
I think they notated with an asterisk projects they'd worked on together, but I didn't go and actually look at each
Yeah,
one to
I guess I
see who
didn't.
it's which.
So how should we decide, finally between the two? I don't know, Mark, if you can advise on how we do this. I know for the rezoning, we had, there's like a rubric and then we ranked, 1 to 4, but it looks like we have, two that are above the rest for this one.
Yeah, well, I think if you go back to the RFP, and I don't have it in front of me, so maybe it'd be helpful to go back to it. Daphne.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
And it sounds like some of the members have done a ranking.
I did.
So,
I
and
did.
the challenge is, at least one has admitted that he hasn't because he didn't see the packet, and we understand, Jeff. No worries. So I think if you know, guided by the selection criteria you have on the screen, if each member would indicate, which some already have, what their preference is based on how they approach the review of each RFP, you might be able. It sounds like you've already identified your top two, but I think going through that, it sounded to me like, based on comments I heard earlier, that already at least I think I heard a majority of members already indicate a preference. But correct me if I'm wrong. I heard at least 3 people indicate SRF. That you were comfortable with SRF for various reasons, and you've provided a lot of reasons. So if there's 4 of you that feel that way, then I think you have your recommendation.
Was SRF the local?
Yeah, they have an office in Middleton.
Yeah. So, and I am sorry that I didn't read it, but I would go with the local. I think that's just a great idea.
But I mean, it's important. I mean, we told people that there'd be various criteria. You know, we were looking at various criteria, not just local. In fact, local
Right.
wasn't specifically
I understand.
identified. I mean, the relevant experience of the firm and the assigned project team. I mean, if you, as part of that ranking, wanted to say, well, the assigned project team are local, so I give them more points. I mean, that's your own criteria. That's fine. You really want to judge based on their work and their experience, but having that, you're going to have more experience, especially in Middleton, if you're local. You tend to. So that's where that
It's way.
bias, if you will,
Yeah.
or that preference can shine in that criteria. So yeah, I mean, that's my guidance to you is if when I heard, well, here's what I heard earlier. Get my notes up again. I heard early on that that Alder Nelson, Alder Olson, and maybe I didn't write down exactly. I just heard what you guys liked, but I think you said, and Adrian and Katie, and I think Kathy all said that was their top choice. I think I heard you say that. Is that correct?
Yes.
It is for me.
I don't remember
Randy,
saying it, but it is.
okay, well, maybe that was my interpretation. Randy, you said SRF did more work up front than the other firms did, but I wasn't. But you were concerned about the relative experience.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you go?
Well, no, I mean, in terms, I had ranked MSA stronger just because of their relevant experience. But I had SRF as second. So.
And let me just say, I had, based on my little scoring, I put SRF first, but Randy, you have such amazing experience. I think that needs to be weighted as well.
Well, I wouldn't say that my opinion is worth anything more than anybody else's in this regard. I think we got two really good applicants. I mean, from my personal point of view, MSA, and looking at it from maybe a plan commission perspective a little bit, I thought MSA's understanding maybe of general planning and maybe building forum issues felt stronger to me than SRF's. SRF, I think, is very strong in terms of transportation issues. And I mean, that's going to be one of the key elements of this quarter, obviously.
Randy, did you notice in there was a section about sight lines that are considered for SRF?
I did
And
see that.
they mentioned this one historic tree. In fact, it's an issue in my district right now. But they also mentioned that buildings that are set too close to the road become an issue for sightlines for people pulling out. I know the trend is to put the buildings closer to the road and putting parking lots underneath. Did that stick out to you at all when they mentioned that?
Both of those things stood out to me. I mean, I make that, I travel that corner trying to turn on University Avenue quite a bit where that tree is, and it is an issue. So I understood it. I think they were bringing up something. I also, you know, there's quite a bit of, there's at least current thought is let's get the buildings up closer to the street. I think with streets with this kind of traffic flow, we have to be careful that we don't get them too tight to the street, because it, you know, it's a different, you know, there's different things to weigh. You know, it's traffic safety. It's also comfort. It just doesn't feel too comfortable to be stuck between a building that's tight to the street and traffic that's tight to the sidewalk, you know, so.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were stating an opinion that they don't like the buildings too close, and I wasn't sure if that was going to go against the trend.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
not.
They certainly brought up, I mean, the SRF they've thought about this, right? They've thought about the issues. And I thought they were actually taking a lot of risk in proposing some things without having other people weigh in or get other inputs. I'm hoping that they'll let the process play out. In other words, let's get the stakeholders' inputs, let's get public inputs, let's, you know, and find out what the commissions and the committees are thinking as they develop their plan. So
I think I should weigh it on, my first choice was SRF, followed by MSA.
Sarah, followed by MSA.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mark, it sounds like we have a consensus, don't we?
I still didn't type that right. SRF followed by who, Jim?
MSA.
MSA. Okay, thank you. There's so many acronyms. Yeah, I've heard that, Randy. I've heard a strong consensus for SRF. So that was your task before you tonight. This will be a recommendation to, well, Daphne, go ahead. You're the you set out the process, and I'll execute whatever process over the next 2 weeks while you're gone that is set in motion here. I'll help you with that. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I'm like right above a garage and it was rumbling. So yeah, so we can recommend SRF to Plan Commission. So that will go to the June 8th Plan Commission for a recommendation. And then hopefully they, you know, if they approve it, then we can go ahead and get started with, you know, signing a contract and getting them, because I mean, SRF said they would get work done in June, so they'll get right to work, I'm sure.
Well, the Plan Commission recommendation would then go to the council, which would have an agreement with the selected firm, with SRF. And that would be on the June 15th meeting, and that's assuming that the Plan Commission accepts the committee's recommendation. So, great. Well, thank you all for your work. Daphne, for getting it to this point as well.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Be much more prepared next time.
When's the next meeting, Daphne, of the group? At what point is the group meeting again?
So after, I believe once SRF, you know, does a little bit more of the research, I'll get them together to meet with you guys. So then Jeff, you know, you can also spill out more of, you know, the concerns or what you've seen. So that's when we'll meet again, probably either end of June or beginning of July.
Sounds good.
Yep,
Good.
thank you
Glad-
all.
Yeah, I'm glad to meet everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot for letting me be part of it.
Oh, of course, Katie.
And Daphne, stay on for a second. All right, thank you
Okay.
all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.